Hello and welcome to Mishlei. We're back at it as always. My co-pilot Miriam Ben Yaakov is with me. Say hello, Miriam.
Hello.
And we're gonna go ahead and end the English. I gave the link to everybody in the chat box. Miriam, if you can go ahead and start reading again. Watch for my cue.
Do you
start and stop? Huh?
Do you want me to read from there, or do you want me to? Because I have my art scroll.
No, we're using Merriam-Webster dictionary.
Okay, all right then.
We want to know if prudence really means this concept of King Solomon's wisdom. The moron hears wisdom and he just repeats it to sound wise. The youth is he hears it and he's being quiet like an apprentice. And Mazima, he's figuring out the plan. He's experiencing it. So there's, how do you say this? Let me get my book. 1 second. Hold on a second. One second. Let's the Petayim Arma. So the youth wants Mazima. What was our shot for the Arma thing? Hold on a second. Yeah. Solomon wants the moron to become prudent. He wants him to become prudent. He wants him to become prudent. Hold on a second. Hold on. Dvarim hane'amrim pe yo'ilu l'teit l'shotim haschochmas lahasir. Yeah, they should speak wisdom to get the stupidity out of their heart. So when they're cunning, they will speak wisdom to trick. But ultimately, that's actually a different shot. I like this. They speak wisdom to trick, but ultimately they should start speaking wisdom. And the youth, he is given the knowledge of really how to build thought, proper thoughts. Makshavot, that's right. So you know what? This is interesting. So Mazima, whatever we read for Mazima, you should end up with a system of how to think. I think that's right? A plan or design. And by Arma, it should be Chochmas. He has to learn prudence. And the youth has to learn, God forbid, philosophy. Right? How to use the mind, how to think. All right. So let's see now how that works. Go ahead, Miriam. Take us through prudence. Remember, keep in mind, the idiot is not prudent, and he has to become prudent. So imagine being stupid and being involved in wisdom. King Solomon's wisdom fixes the world. He is actually going to turn a fool into a man of prudence. Go ahead, Miriam. And go real slow so I can start and stop you.
The simple definition of prudence: careful, good judgment that allows someone to avoid danger or risks.
All right. So careful, good judgment that allows someone to avoid danger or risks. All right. So you got this fool, right? He's foolish. And if you give him enough wisdom, I guess the opposite of the fool, right? The fool does not have good judgment. And he does not. So what is a fool? This is, John, here's your definition of Iker. A fool has bad judgment and he does not avoid danger. Do you guys agree with that? Do you guys agree with that definition? A fool has poor judgment that brings upon himself danger.
Yes.
Yeah. And Solomon is saying, if you would shut up and listen to me, you would become this thing called prudent. And you need to become prudent because you're not prudent. Keep going now.
The full definition of prudence: the ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason.
So that's an interesting word, reason. The fool has no self-discipline. Now, what does reason mean? We need to open up a new window here. I don't know what reason means. I don't know if that's a thought or if that's wisdom. Let's go now. Merriam, definition, reason. All right? I don't know what that word means. Reason. Here comes the link. Please click this link. Let's find out what reason means.
A statement or fact that explains why something is the way it is.
Stop. You're a fool. And Solomon says, let me out wisdom you. A statement or fact that explains why. So a fool says, blah, 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 I'm a fool. Wisdom says, you're a fool. Let me tell you how it is. Keep going.
Why someone does, thinks, or says something, or why someone behaves in a certain way.
So Solomon's telling you the emes. Therefore, if you have emes, you have reason. Go ahead.
A fact, condition, or situation that makes it proper or appropriate to do something, feel something, etc.
Okay.
The power of the mind to think and understand in a logical way.
Okay, so now go down full definition to A and B.
A statement offered in explanation or justification.
To A and B.
Oh, two. All right. Sorry. I thought you said go to. Never mind. The power of comprehending, inferring, or thinking, especially in orderly, rational ways. Intelligence. Proper exercise of the mind. Sanity. The sum of intellectual powers.
That's great. That's great. Now we know what reason is. I had no idea. Did any of you know that that's what reason meant? I certainly didn't. So it's not that you think. It's it's the how do I want to say this? The vessels of thought, the conditioning of thinking. That's pretty awesome, Miriam Ben Yaakov. Solomon's wisdom is not teaching you how to think like what's that word again? Mazima. It's giving you the vessels of thought, sanity, intelligence, how to properly use the mind.
Right.
Thinking rational. So now our idiot, you could say he was insane. You agree with that? He is a product of societal insanity. He had no discipline in his mind, this guy. He's not dumb. It's like, Neo, why do your eyes hurt? Because you never used them before. The Mazima, he just doesn't have thoughts. The idiot may have thoughts. He is interested in who will win in a fight between Superman and Batman. He doesn't realize that that's not how you use your mind. So let's go back to Prudence.
Okay.
And read the number 1 again. and not the simple, but number one. And let's have kavana when you get to the word reason to see if it makes sense. Go ahead.
The ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason.
Okay, so to self-discipline through sanity, sane thoughts. I like that. Keep going.
Sagacity or shrewdness in the management of affairs.
Yes, this is just an undisciplined, immature fool. Keep going.
Skill and good judgment in the use of resources.
I would say that's sanity. You know, understanding resources is a proper maturity. Keep going.
Caution or circumspection as to danger or risk.
Okay. So we have prudence. Now, we understand prudence with reason. Let's read through those four again, and don't focus on reason, but prudence itself. Go ahead.
The ability to govern and discipline oneself by the use of reason. Sagacity or shrewdness in the management of affairs. Skill and good judgment in the use of resources. Caution or circumspection as to danger or risk.
Okay. So let's go again. We have Arma is the fool. He's got to get smart. Solomon's wisdom wants to give him what I said from the Aramaic, experience and wisdom. Now that certainly fits with prudence, 100%. And I would say where, and Justin B, pay attention, where prudence is lacking, and Miriam, I'll have your input here, I think you have to have reason along with prudence, and that will give us the full spectrum of what the Aramaic implies of experience and wisdom. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and it makes me think about, like, after a person has a stroke, the person can still be thinking, the person can still have memories, the person can still even be cognitive of and know what year it is, all these different things, but he can be completely devoid of good judgment.
Yeah.
And so he can do crazy things, even though if he were to have a cognitive test, it shows that he thinks. Right. He can use his mind, he can think, but yet he doesn't have the judgment to.
Well, you have just solved the riddle of the insanity of the millennials.
Well, yeah, that's right. I wasn't going to go there, but it has been very enlightening to watch what's going on here.
So so for Solomon, the millennial is the moron. He's the how do you call him again? Let me see it again. He's the Pitaim. So the fool is lacking prudence and reason, but they can think. And Solomon is saying, you're right, Miriam, Dafka, because you can think, right? You Dafka need wisdom. Right. See, the other guy, the youth, see, this is funny. Reuven has wisdom, but he's an 8-year-old kid who has no thought. He never thought before. Mm-hmm. The millennial thinks all the time, but they have no wisdom. So Solomon is saying, if I keep speaking to you, you're going to stop arguing because I'm right. You're going to keep arguing. Well, the facts show that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and the majority seem to believe and hold by that the popular vote is in fact more successful than the Electoral College. Okay. You clearly know how to think, but you lack wisdom, reason, prudence, experience. You're 25 years old and you haven't seen anything, but you think a lot. So Solomon keeps going and just beats up these little false facts of the fool and get the fool to speak proper wisdom. Mm-hmm. He will become from cunning to prudent. All right, let's go now and focus on the, we'll call this guy the young apprentice. Right, he's 13, and his dad is teaching him how to drop an engine in a car and rebuild an engine, which is a big task. The kid doesn't know how to think, but, he likes to play with Legos, so he has a mind. For that, we said Justin B's word is discretion. So let's go to discretion. I would have said the word is plan from the Aramaic. And discretion. And Chabavowicz said it was discretion. All right. We lost Miriam. There she is. She's back. Miriam, go ahead. We lose you? We here? Hello, 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 hello. If not, I will read. There you are. Hello.
Didn't realize I lost it. I was reading to myself. Okay.
So let's go. Discretion. This is your youth apprentice. And just because he acts like a fool, he's not. He's a kid. Jeff Foxworthy had a funny joke. Can I tell my Jeff Foxworthy joke?
Yeah.
He says, my sister is always proud of her kid. And he stands out in the yard, points up in the sky, and he says, airplane, airplane. I said, for heaven's sakes, the boy's 14 years old. So the millennial is a fool at 25, and the 13-year-old has the exact same foolishness as the 25-year-old. But the 25-year-old is guilty for being a moron, a fool, and the youth is guilty of being a youth.
Right.
And those are the different terms in Mishlei. So let's find out why you don't ridicule the millennial like the youth. The millennial, you teach them wisdom, straight up Solomon wisdom. That's how you answer the millennials. How do you answer a child? Go ahead.
The right to choose what should be done in a particular situation.
That's very interesting. Now, how many of you knew that? If you say one, you're a liar. I certainly would have guessed discretion would have meant in those terms. That's a chiddush by me. That's a real chiddush. Why? It's not how I would have described it without thinking about it. But look what's going on here, right? You got your 13-year-old apprentice. Bobby, give me the Phillips screwdriver. The right to choose what should be done. So what does the dad do? This is great. Miriam, what does the dad do? You got little Billy. We're building an engine. How does the dad give over Solomon wisdom?
He asks him what he thinks would be the right tool to use.
How awesome is that? How awesome is that? That's exactly it. That's it. Just a different approach altogether. That's really amazing. Keep going.
The quality of being careful about what you do and say so that people will not be embarrassed or offended. The quality of being discreet.
That's what that kid's got to learn. You don't mouth off in the garage. You keep your cards close to your chest. You can't look stupid As Russell will tell you, if you look stupid on the job, you get yelled at, on a work site. So if you're going to be a fool, just because you're young, you better be discreet about it. If the dad told him 20 times what a Phillips is, you got to be very clever of how you ask without being a fool, because the kid is thinking. You're getting him thinking now. He has the wisdom. He doesn't think right. That's pretty good stuff right there. Keep going now in the full definition, Mary.
The quality of having or showing discernment or good judgment. The quality.
So how do we see that? What does the dad do? The dad asks him Akasha, right? Bobby, what do you think we need here? Probably a Phillips, Dad. A Phillips? What size? That's the killer question, right? I don't know. So you're going to have good judgment. Well, since it's the smaller part of the engine, I would say the smaller Phillips. Good job, boy. Go get me the Phillips, right? Go ahead. Keep going.
The quality of being discreet. Cautious, reserve in speech.
Yeah, so the kid's not a blabbermouth. Oh, well, Mr. Phillips said in shop class that when he built the engine that he did a regular screwdriver. That's now no longer the proper fool here. That's going to be a millennial. So the apprentice child, he is learning not to do that. He is not going to say how to reprimand the father here. And he's going to learn real quick that's not the place to do that. Keep going.
Ability to make responsible decisions.
That's what he's teaching him.
Right.
This kid doesn't know how to think. The dad's going to send him to the hardware store. I'm going to take a lunch break. I want you to go to the hardware store and bring me back blah, 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 blah. Well, how do I know which one it is? You tell him it's the one that I got yesterday. You better believe that kid has a mission. He better not mess it up. You go and you say, I need what my dad had yesterday. Now, the kid doesn't know what that means, and it doesn't matter. You're learning how to be discreet. Go ahead.
Individual choice or judgment, left the decision to his discretion.
Well, Johnny, we got two kinds of screwdrivers. You got the new kind that came out and the classic kind. Which one does your dad want? Uh-oh. You better answer up right. You're going to get yelled at. So he's got to really crunch that data. Really crunch the data. Go ahead.
Power of free decision or latitude of choice within certain legal bounds.
So he calls his dad on his cell phone. Dad, they got two kinds. Which one? Oh, it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and pick one. Oh, thanks, Dad. So it's going to test because when he comes home, deep down, the dad had a preference. And based on this kid's natural talent or lack of, the dad is going to see what's going on. Go ahead.
The result of separating or distinguishing.
At the end of the day, the kid's going to have to ask the clerk, how do I – this is the Icar – here it is. Icar wisdom time. The dad was in moron man mode, type 1. And the kid copped the dad is in moron man mode. The kid's test in wisdom here is, Mr. Johnson, what's the difference between the new screwdriver and the old screwdriver? Well, don't be stupid, kid. Just pick one. No, Mr. Johnson, because there's a reason why you ordered the new kind. What's the difference fundamentally in the way that the tools are used between the old kind, the classic kind, the new kind? Oh, just the new kind got a special grip that your hand won't get tired, and the old kind's just the old plastic. So the kid sees the new kind is 30 cents more. So is it worth it? Is the classic kind really bad in your hand? So the secret wisdom is, and I'm telling you a secret wisdom here, try it out. Mr. Johnson, can I try it out? Do you have like a screw and something I can try to see how it feels on my hand? Yeah, we can set you up with something. So he tries out the classic one. Hey, it's classic. And the new one, it feels good. It feels good. And then he brings it home to Dad. Dad says, what are you, stupid? Kid says, huh? He says, that's just a gimmick. That's like a cheap foam. That's going to be torn off in 3 days. Then I got to go and put either duct tape on it or go back to the store and buy the classic. Don't ever do that again. Buy the classic. You see how wisdom never stops? Never stops. It's just constant. Maybe the new grip was right, but not for a car engine, but for installing shelves in your living room. Never stops. That's what the kid is learning with discretion. So he's learning discretion, which has discernment, discreet, circumspection. I want to know what circumspection means. I don't know what that word means. He's responsible. Here's circumspection. We don't know what circumspect means, right? Here it is. And there's your link. Go ahead, read circumspection.
Thinking carefully about possible risks before doing or saying something.
You see, didn't you know that the foam was going to fall off? It's a cheap made in China foam. You shouldn't have bought that. The classic one is a plastic that won't do that. You weren't thinking. Go back and let's look at the word responsible. I don't know what responsible means because we said the millennial is not responsible. Go ahead, responsible.
Having the job or duty of dealing with or taking care of something or someone.
See, the dad sent the apprentice on a mission. That's not that. The dad knows that this kid's not a fool. It's not the millennial. Dad sends the millennial, he'll come back with a Hillary Clinton pin. Go ahead.
Able to be trusted to do what is right or to do the things that are expected or required.
That's why he's an apprentice. The millennial is not an apprentice. You want him to become apprenticeable. Keep going.
Involving important duties, decisions, etc., that you are trusted to do.
All right, so I think we got it. We got our superconscious position here. So in closing words for tonight, we have, here we go. Let's open up the verse again in Hebrew. Solomon's given his wisdom over, and he gives it to the full so that he should become a millennial that becomes wise. He's already a millennial, right? And wise is prudent and reason. Basically, this is interesting. The youth has what the millennial doesn't. And the millennial has what the youth doesn't. So there's two kinds of Katnut. You got the 25-year-old millennial and the 13-year-old apprentice. And they're both problematic. You were actually smarter when you were a dumb kid, and when you got older and you were smarter, you got dumber. And then you have sagacity that fixes the millennial who becomes the babysitter to your kid. You fix society that way, passing it down. Or you raise up your kid with wisdom, so he skips the millennial. Whatever it is, wisdom repairs Katnut. So we're seeing how godless fixes Katnus. Solomon's wisdom is the answer to at least two types of stupidity. Youthful stupidity, which is just natural, and what do you call that? Like college-age stupidity. Sophomoric. That's it. Wisdom fixes these two guys. So the more you speak wisdom, they'll get it. The problem with the millennials today is there literally is no wisdom in the world. I mean, it's devoid. That's probably why you have a millennial
problem. The real problem is the universities that is teaching people not to think.
That's it. They want the millennial. They want foolishness. And, I'll prove it to you. The university thinking is very like Warren Buffett, right? Just that whole leftist, and it's not real wisdom. And I watched an interview with Buffett. I forget who with. He's an idiot. He's an absolute millennial type moronic fool. I mean, he has a wisdom to make billions of dollars, but so do the millennials. In terms of we're saying the millennial knows how to think. That's not their problem. Buffett knows how to think about business and stuff, but he's a fool. And the world, the universities are breeding that. They for some reason, that demographic fits well in the world. I mean, the Hillary people are fools. And the youth are exploited because they are wasted potential because they are a vessel for wisdom, and people are okay with their kids being foolish. I just took 2 kids to bowling yesterday. One of the kids was very foolish, and parents are okay with their kids being foolish. Well, if you've seen the pictures of my kids or whatever, Reuven does not get any leeway of being a fool. I think that comes through. That doesn't mean he can't be a kid. But I hate to say this, and this is kind of embarrassing, but we went for pizza after bowling, and one of the kids is putting his pizza in his Coke, okay? You realize that? He was eating pizza in Coke. And I said, if you do that again, we're leaving. And my kids certainly are not allowed to dip their pizza in Coke. And even though kids are foolish, you cannot condone that kind of foolishness. And the millennial is a lack of wisdom fool, and that's what we're dealing with in the world. But I don't think the problem is him dipping his pizza in his Coke. That is a lack of wisdom in the world stage. He is a direct culprit, or what do you call it? Not culprit, but victim of there literally is no wisdom left in the world. And I think my opinion is what Trump represents. I don't know if he's going to do it, but what he's representing is a return to wisdom. I hope that's true, because I know he's capable. He'll definitely try, but he could be nixed in that process. I know that Ben Carson was preaching that too. He was definitely preaching a return to wisdom. So there is the idea to bring back wisdom, and there is the idea to keep people dumb without wisdom. For whatever reason, I don't know if there's a pure incentive to bring back wisdom, and I don't know what the agenda is to prevent wisdom. But what Solomon is saying, and he's a king, the leader of the world, wisdom fixes insanity, stupidity, foolishness. Now, there's other problems in the world. So we're going to see what Solomon says. In verse 3, he was fixing government. In verse 2, he was fixing the mind. In verse 1, he was establishing what was going on. So here, Solomon is saying, how do you repair youth? Insane amounts of wisdom, pun intended, right? Give them the wisdom, you will repair the populace on a maturity level of 25 to, let's say, 10. Foolishness can be repaired with wisdom. And with that, I bid you well. Next week, we'll continue with the new verse 5. Thank you, and see you next time.